בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. הלכה יומי פעם חוק לישראל, פרשת כי תיסה ליום שישי. הלכה א', הפוסק עם הגוי לבנות לו חסרו או קוטלו או לקצור את השדה. So if a Yehudi comes and he makes a contract, a posek here means he makes a contract, right, with a goy, right, as you could see in the explanation, right, you could maybe look there, right, baqablanot temurat sakhar ze et khasero, with the temurat, which means he makes a set contract, right, set amount, right, to whether go ahead and build something in his backyard, or kotlo, or to build a wall, or liksor et sadehu, or to go ahead and harvest the field, or shesekharo lizman qasuf kigon leshana or shetaim libnot lo bizmanze. Or he tells him, look, I hire you for 1 to 2 years, 1 or 2 years, that this time you should be working for me. Haser lo lit'a lo kherem, that he should be planting kherem or be harvesting. Im hayta hamelacha b'medina, klomar b'makom yoshvim anashim. If this contract work is being done in the city where everyone is living, which we mean by everyone mean that there are other Yehudim, or afilu shelo b'makom yeshuv mamash aval betoch hatechum, really is not even so many people living there. He has, for example, this field in Thousand Oaks, and there are people there, but not in the immediate place where his field is, right? And it is within the Techum, within 2,000 amot where Yehudim live. Shel hayeshuv asur lo lehanichan asur et hamelacha b'Shabbat. It is prohibited for the Jew to tell him, do this work in my field, right, on Shabbat, even though that this is a contract job, right? Why? Because this is his field, and who knows, right, that this is a contract job. It has a problem of maritime. It would look like as if the owner has hired him to do, right, this job on Shabbat, which is prohibited. A Jew cannot hire a non-Jew, right, working on Shabbat in his field, in his place, right? Mipenei haroim she'enan yod'im shepasak, because people who see this worker do not know that there was a contract job signed, right, and there was qablanut, right, that it was accepted something to get done in a long time, not specifically on Shabbat. Or besekhirul lizman qasuv, right, vayomeru shesachar po'alim la'avod besadeh or bechasero b'Shabbat. And people would say, oh, look, this Yehudi, right, hired all these guys, all these amigos, right, to work on Shabbat. Ve'im hayta hamelacha chus datachum. Now, what about if this case happens in outside of Techum, which means outside of 2,000 amot of the last house living there? So people are not coming and going, and we can assume that there is no Yehudi there, right? Can you get this done? Shel makom yeshuv mutar. Says Rambam, yes, it is permissible. Why? Mipenei she'en sham Israel sheireh et hapo'alin keshehen osim b'Shabbat ve'en ze b'Parashat, because really there is no Yehudi there, or there is no chance of a Yehudi coming there on Shabbat. It's more than 2,000 amot from the last house, and one is not supposed to go, outside of Techum, right? And this way, it is not seen as if these workers, these amigos, are working on Shabbat, right? And it's not in Parashat, so it's not in a public place. There is nobody there, بلکن کیوان شعبودتا به قبلانوت او بسخورت شزمن قصوب متا. So the next nekuda is that this guy, the owner, is not paying right after Shabbat. Right? He made a contract. You get this job done, and this worker is choosing on his own to come work on Shabbat. It's a contract job. That's what it means. With the contract job, you're not dictating to the guy that I want you to work on Shabbat. It is convenient to come work on Shabbat, and he is supposed to get the job done in 1 year, 2 years, whatever the contract says. So in a place that there is no Yehudi living there, outside of Techom, this is permissible according to Rambam. Now this halacha is brought in Perek Vav halacha Yutchet of Mishnah Torah. Next halacha, right? V'chen mutar le'adam lehaskir karmo o sadehu legoy. Also, it is permissible for a Yehudi to rent his vineyard or his field to a non-Jew. Afal pi shehu hagoy, even though that he's a Jew, he's a non-Jew, right? Zor'an v'notnan b'Shabbat, even though that he's going to work, he's going to be planting, he's going to do all the work that is required to get the produce ready, right? Mipenei shero'eh shahar ro'eh yodea shesacharin et o hen o ve'arisuk natan lahem ve'eno tole shahagoy ose ken bishvel ube shelichot Israel. Why? Because this is a known fact, right? In this field in Thousand Oaks, right? The goyim come and they rent a field. They rent an avocado field for maybe 3 months, for 6 months, and people know this. Other Yehudim know it. So there is no chishash, there is no fear that Yehudim would think this landlord of the field is making profit on Shabbat, right? Or has hired people working in his field on Shabbat. They know that this has been rented. This is a davar yadua, right? It's a known thing, right? ואין דרך רוב אנשי אותו המקום להשכירו לאדם אחר או ייתן לו ברסיקות, אסור להשכירו לגוי. Now, if in this field, right, if in this place, right, it is not customary to rent a field to goyim, right? Let's say it's in Israel, right? Israel people are very much careful. They don't want to deal with Arabs for many reasons, unfortunately, and there is that in these fields they don't rent it to non-Jews, right? So in such a place it is asur, it is prohibited to rent your field to a non-Jew, because he is going to be working on Shabbat, and people are not used to see goyim working in their fields on Shabbat, and they're gonna be thinking that you have hired this non-Jew to work in your field on Shabbat, right? ואין דרך רוב אנשי אותו מקום לסחורו או ליתן לו בעריסות, אסור להשכיר לגוי מפני שאין אנשים תולים שהשכיר אותו לגוי אלא שעדיין הוא רשות ישראל. Why? Because in these places people are not used to seeing Gentiles to come and rent their fields or their homes, and this way they might think that this is still the property of a Jew, right? They don't know that this has been rented, so they see this non-Jew working in the field. Since the Jew, the Gentile is doing in that field work, the other difference is over here we're talking about the field, as opposed to one's own home or apartment, right? Nobody knows what is happening inside, so there is no problem. The guy goes in and goes out, right? So people might think, so whatever this guy is doing as an extension of the Jew, right? And they might think that this guy has been hired to work on Shabbat, which is asur la halacha. Baruch Adonai leolam, amen wa amen.